Welcome back, folks, to my random video blog series where I ramble about whatever is relevant, an anniversary that occurred, or basically whatever is on my mind. This week, it's another installment of a You Never Know Who Might Be a Wrestling Fan series. Anyone who's new to the channel, or if you've been tuning in the last month or so, you may not be familiar with the series. I've done four parts before this. You can check it out in the random video blog columns and series and whatever here on the channel. You can just type it in on Google. You never know who might be a wrestling fan. All 4 videos will come up. And basically, it's pretty self-explanatory. These kind of videos talk about my various experiences with people that I've met over the years that I would never have guessed were a wrestling fan, just basic random occurrences. Because I've always said, you'll find wrestling fans in the weirdest places. I've seen them at work, I've seen them at school, I've seen them on the street, different wrestling fans and stuff. And it's different, than any other sport for the most part, because wrestling is not very mainstream, as it once was, of course, back in the Attitude Era, when you would walk down your hallway in school and you would see everyone wearing an Austin 316 shirt or jean shorts or whatever. Everyone was a wrestling fan. But when it started to become less and less cool to become a wrestling fan, not a lot of people started showing their colors. So I've talked about in my video blog here before about how there is basically nobody on my college campus. I've just got done with sophomore year. I'll be a junior in the fall. Other than RJ, my Wrestle Rant Radio co-host, who also shows his support of wrestling by wearing wrestling t-shirts and stuff, much like myself, there's only one other kid who I found out was a wrestling fan only about a month or two ago, and even he doesn't wear like wrestling shirts or anything like that. I barely knew the kid, but he was in one of my classes. Other than that, though, there is essentially no one else on campus that's a wrestling fan. And the first installment of this video series talked about a teacher that I had in high school, a politics teacher that was a wrestling fan. It was like the greatest final few months of my high school career. Like, one of the highlights of my high school career was having that teacher because he was a wrestling fan. He was the coolest dude anyway. Liked him beforehand, even liked him after the fact I found out he was a fan. And my second video blog in this series talked about how I had I went to the writing center here at school, or my college. I'm not here now. I'm not at school now. I'm at home now. Just got done last week or 2 weeks ago. And I went to the writing center at school, and one of the teachers that I had, or one of the professors or tutors, I guess, was not a wrestling fan, but he was a son. He was the father of a wrestling fan. His son was a wrestling fan, but he was very well aware of the product. We were talking about that for a while. That was pretty fucking cool. So, today's video blog is about 2 people also on my college campus that I found out were wrestling fans, and 2 stories are kind of brief, so I just wanted to merge 2 into 1. So for the price of one, for the view of one video, you get 2 stories this week, so kind of a treat. First one occurring on WrestleMania weekend last year, the weekend of WrestleMania 30. It was a Friday. So last year I had 2 roommates when I started out my freshman year of college, neither of whom were wrestling fans. One was like okay with it. He used to be a wrestling fan. Like I was watching like an old Hell in a Cell DVD one day. He was talking about how he used to like Triple H and whatever, so he was kind of aware. The other kid was kind of an asshole. He was a good kid, liked him and whatever, but when I would watch wrestling, he would be very snotty about it. And I'll talk about this in future videos when I talk about other people that have come across campus that used to be fans and whatever. But this kid was, like, oh, why are they acting? And, making just, like, really ignorant comments. So, like, most of the time, I don't really give a shit. I like the people that either are fans, obviously, or people, you don't have to be a fan. Like, if you don't like wrestling, I'm not going to hate you. As long as you tolerate it or you just don't care, that's completely okay. But when you criticize it and be an asshole about it, that's when I started to get pissed off. And that's when this kid was kind of bothering me about it. And thankfully, he ended up leaving the next semester. The first kid who kind of tolerated it, because he used to be a fan, he ended up leaving at the end of the first semester because he moved in with somebody else on their college campus. So then there were 2 kids, myself and this other kid. And then he ended up leaving in early 2014, the first part of the second semester. His grades weren't where they should have been. He wasn't doing well. He was sick all the time, so he just went home and he didn't come back. But like I said, we are friends, though, that aside, so I had him back up over WrestleMania weekend, not because it was WrestleMania weekend, just the timing just kind of worked out that way. So we came up on the Friday, we were going to hang out, me, myself, and another friend that we have on campus. But he didn't come alone, though. He brought a friend of his. He saw my wrestling posters and stuff, and I was very fearful that he also was going to be much like this kid, and not like wrestling or just be a dick about it. And he wasn't. I mean, he used to be a fan. He talked about John Cena being a Marine, which he wasn't, I guess, but whatever. He was talking about John Cena. He tolerated it. He was cool with it. But this kid, although he was a nice kid, he meant well. He was very, drink, like I've talked about this before, but and I'm straight edge, but I don't mind people who drink and smoke and whatever. I'm friends with a lot of people who, who drink and smoke in college. I don't really give a shit. As long as you don't push it on me or whatever, I don't give a fuck. And this kid wasn't pushing it on me or anybody else, but he kind of went overboard because apparently my ex-roommate's friend, this kid that he brought up, he used to go to college. And he got kicked out for whatever reason. So I ended up finding out why a little later on in the night after this happened. So this kid, he really went excessive with the drinking. He went over to one of my buddies' rooms down the hall in my dorm, and he went over there to drink, and he went way overboard. He drank way more than he should have. Puked in the hallway. He came to my room. My ex-roommate was taking care of him, but I was still pretty pissed off. It fucking smelled like shit. It smelled like puke. It was gross. It was kind of all over the place. And this is the kid that isn't even supposed to be here. I'm going to get in trouble because I'm associated with this. So I'm stressing out, and I'm all the while I'm trying to watch fucking like SmackDown or something because I want to get like my review in, because WrestleMania weekend obviously is always busy. I'm always writing articles and stuff. There's always a lot of things to write and watch and do. So I'm trying to watch that shit while this kid's taking care of his friend, and I'm like, oh, Jesus Christ, just go home. And they were sleeping over, so they couldn't have gone home anyway, but he's taking care of him and whatever. And this is the part where it kind of goes, I hate to go like off on a tangent, but this is where it kind of all circles back. So because the friend got so out of hand with the drinking, he almost literally passed out in my room. He was pretty much fucking passed out in my room. My ex-roommate was taking care of him. It was a fucking nightmare. So they had to call Campo, who is basically like the on-campus, not police, officials, I guess. I don't know, the people that kind of take care of you and whatever. And there's a policy on my college campus where even if, as long as you're drinking safely and you're not being a dick about it and you're not causing any issues, they don't really care. But this kid was obviously causing issues. He puked in the goddamn hallway. So they called Campo, whatever. They called some medical personnel to kind of take care of this kid, give him some medication, kind of tell my ex-roommate how to take care of him, whatever. So all that while is happening, there's the girl comes in and a guy comes in. These officials, like I said, the Campo, to take care of this kid. So the girl leaves to go get something like a bag or something so this kid can puke in. And the guy stays behind, just kind of recording the room number and shit like that. He's just kind of taking inventory in terms of like what's going on here. So then, for like a brief moment, he's looking around my room, and I don't really give a shit, like whether it's college or I'm home or whatever. I always hang up my wrestling posters. I got a lot of them. I have no shame in that. So my wrestling posters are all over the room, and there's even more so than they were at the start of the year, because like I said, my other two roommates left, and I had this triple for only one kid myself, so it was great. But I had my wrestling posters all around the room, and he was looking around the room, and he's like, so I take it someone in here is a wrestling fan. And I'm like, oh, no, please don't shit on him. I'm like, yep, that's me. And he goes, yeah, I was just watching some, like, the Mankind Undertaker Hell in a Cell match the other day, and I'm like, that's so fucking cool. And we were just talking about the business and stuff like that. I don't think this kid went to our college. I think he either probably graduated and just came back and worked as one of these medical personnel, whatever. We were just shooting the shit about the business for a couple minutes while the girl came back with the bag, while she went downstairs to go get it. So we're just talking about that and him having, being a fan of the business. I'm like, that's so fucking cool. So then I'm talking about WrestleMania on Sunday. We're talking about that. I'm talking to him about the WWE Network. I asked him, have you tried out the network yet? He's like, no, I've tried it out. I don't think I have it yet. I'm like, I think he said he did have it. I can't remember. I think he said he had it on his Xbox or something. I didn't have an Xbox at that time, so I only watched it on my laptop, my phone. But we're talking about like that, and he's like, oh, that's so cool. So we're talking about the WWE Network, why he should have it if he didn't know already. It was so goddamn cool. So the highlight of that night, of that disastrous night, and the kid ended up being okay. He ended up waking up and passing out again. They left the next morning, thankfully, and he hasn't come back to my school since. The ex-roommate has. He's a cool dude, and he's come back up and a few times since then. And but still, that one experience with that one guy, that one medical personnel, that one Campo official, whatever, was so cool to know that there's a wrestling fan out there that also has the network, also living on campus if he wasn't already graduated, whatever. So that was cool. So that kind of made my WrestleMania Friday night a little bit better, even though it was kind of a disaster otherwise that had nothing to do with me, or that I had nothing to do with. So that was cool. The second story, a little bit shorter. I came back, actually, it involves the same kid, actually, coincidentally enough. About a month ago, we went to go see Fast and Furious at the movie theater. Me, another friend that I have on campus, and this ex-roommate of mine, like who I said, it's come up a few times to my college. We just kind of hang out. He's a cool dude otherwise. So he came up on a Friday or a Saturday. I think it might have been the Friday. He came up on the Friday night, I want to say. We went to the mall on the Friday, and we went to go see Fast and Furious on the Saturday afternoon. That's what it was. So I thought we were going to go see Fast and Furious or Furious 7 on the Friday, so I wore my Rock t-shirt out to the mall. And I don't know if I talked about it here in the video blog before, but I've gone to the mall before wearing like an Ultimate Warrior t-shirt, and people have recognized it, which is always like the coolest feeling in the world. So I wore my Rock shirt, and like no one said it, I didn't get any compliments on it or anything like that. Not that I'm looking for any, but just like if it happens, it's cool. So I wore my Rock shirt just because I was in a Rock mood that day. So I was wearing my Rock shirt back to campus. And when we walked back into my dorm building, completely different building, it was me, my friend, and my ex-roommate. I have to sign him in because he's a guest technically. So while I'm signing him in, like giving them his information and shit like that, this guy who's sitting behind the table, he's the night guard, I guess you can call him. They're the guys, I don't know if they're at every dorm, but they're at most dorms. And they're just kind of there to sign people in, just kind of making sure people aren't walking in drunk and walking in with anything, like any alcohol or whatever else. And this guy was pretty chill. I wasn't like, I was friendly with him. I wasn't like I was friends with him or anything like that. This guy was probably, I don't know, in his mid-20s, something like that, working as a night guard. He was there all year long. From the start of the year to the end of the year, he would come in on Thursday, Friday, Saturday, I think Sunday nights too. I'm not sure about Sundays. I'm pretty sure it was Sundays too. I can't remember exactly. But yeah, he would come in. I mean, we were friendly. Like I would say hi to him and stuff, but other than that, we really wouldn't conversate at all. So anyway, going back to what I was saying before, I was signing in my ex-roommate while they were just talking, whatever. And he goes, "Hey, nice shirt." Now, like I said, I'm wearing my Rock shirt, and I'm like, "Hey, thanks. You're a fan of the business. I'm more of an Austin fan, but I'm also a Rock fan too." And it was the coolest thing. Like I said, with the wrestling fan teacher that I had back in high school. Like, it was a shame, like, I find out that these people are wrestling fans that I encounter daily. Not just someone that I pass by and I find out they're a wrestling fan, but like a teacher or someone that I see all the time or every weekend or something like that. And it was the end of the year. This was only weeks before I had to leave school. So I would talk about, wrestling with him over the next couple of weeks. But that one night, while my friend and my ex-roommate went back to my room, we were just kind of hanging out in there. They went to go hang out in there. I stayed behind and was talking to this night guard. And we were talking everything. We were talking about WrestleMania. We were talking about Extreme Rules predictions. We were talking about Raw, AJ Lee leaving, him thinking that she was pregnant, him going to some shows like 15 years ago at the TD Garden in Boston, stuff like that. It was the coolest conversation. And he was pretty much, not a smark. I hate using the word mark and smark and whatever. But he was a smart wrestling fan, I guess. And like I said, I hate to use the word smark. But like everyone else, like every one of us that, goes in the wrestling dirt sheets and kind of knows the behind the scenes stuff, and doesn't know everything, but more than just a casual viewer, I guess I could say. And he was kind of wised up in a lot of that stuff, so we were talking about all the backstage reports and predictions and whatever else, like for a solid 20 minutes or so. And like I said, I only saw him maybe a few times after that. I think I was there for maybe another 2 or 3 more weekends, so I would talk about it with them every time that I could. But yeah, it was really cool, stuff like that, someone that you see on a regular basis, and it just really goes back to the whole title of this video, you never know who might be a wrestling fan.